Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking rain, snow, high winds, cold front, and a cold plunge across the U.S. over the next 24 hours. Let's get to your weather headlines. High winds are going to be the big story for a good portion of the plains today. You're going to see those strong winds, stronger than what we saw yesterday, for both today and tomorrow. This is also going to increase the fire risk with that dry air that's incoming and very concerning drought conditions that are increasing for a decent portion of the U.S. So we've got 7 states under a high wind alert, either a high wind watch or warning. We're not seeing the graphics move. Okay, come on, clicker, wake up. There we go. Florida, falling iguana warning. You're going to see those iguanas falling out of the trees. And all of this thanks to cold weather coming into the state. We've got freeze warnings and cold alerts that cover 90% of the state here. And what about weekend snow? I've had a lot of questions. Is the plains going to get snow? What about the southeast? Are we going to see snow in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about snow accumulations. All right, what happened over the last 48 hours here? No severe weather. It's just that time of the year where we are in a severe weather lull. We're probably going to stay in a severe weather lull over the next week. Probably not going to see any severe weather. However, we still have a lot of weather to talk about that will impact your day. Not only do we see those high winds out there that will impact your day, you're absolutely going to feel them, but we're also seeing some cooler weather moving into the plains. And the East Coast. I mean, really, this entire area is going to light up in blue because of those cooler temperatures, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. In terms of rain and snow, we've got some snow across our New England states right now. We've also got a little bit of rain just off the coast of Florida, but we're dry for now. We're going to see more of that wet weather over the next 24 to 48 hours. Talk about a cool down. Look at these cooler temperatures moving into places like Minneapolis, Fort Wayne. We're sitting below freezing right now. 35 in Atlanta, barely holding on to that above freezing weather. And all of this thanks to a low pressure system that's pushing this cold air into the East Coast. Meanwhile, the opposite is happening across the West Coast with this high pressure system that's holding that warm air in place. What's happening is right in the middle of these two strong systems is your high wind. Anytime we see a fall in pressure, so from that high pressure to low pressure, you're going to see the wind speed increase. And that's why we have those strong wind gusts across the plains both today and tomorrow. We keep seeing these intrusions of cold air, not only today, but also through the weekend. It looks like temperatures are going to take a plunge as we head into the weekend, but it doesn't last long. This roller coaster of temperatures is going to bring us right back up as we head into early next week and some warmer air tries to sneak into places like Oklahoma and Kansas. But severe weather is non-existent right now. No severe thunderstorms are expected over the next 5-6 days, as I mentioned earlier. Your significant hail model, we always show you this, although there's not much to see on this graphic right now. No hail today. So let's return to the wind. Here's a look at your high wind watches and high wind warnings highlighted there in gold and in tan. This is for not necessarily during the day today, mainly later on today and into tomorrow. So we're really going to see the wind speeds pick up. We're only getting started here. We also have a red flag warning highlighted there in pink for the western side of Oklahoma and the eastern side of the Texas Panhandle. All of this again thanks to the drought that's in place, extremely dry air that's moving in, and of course those high wind speeds. You go farther out to the east, there's your winter weather alerts, and that's why we're talking about falling iguanas in Florida, because of all those cold temperatures in Florida. 90% of the state under some sort of cold weather alert, either a freeze warning or a cold weather advisory. Let's break this down for you. I told you we are only getting started on those high wind speeds. Wind gusts could reach up to 60, 65, maybe 70 miles an hour here. All of that highlighted there in purple, which is moving from the northern plains along a front all the way down into the southern plains as we head late tonight into early tomorrow morning. You could wake up tomorrow morning hearing the wind blow outside of your house. You're going to have to hold on to the car door handles as you open them tomorrow morning, or the wind is going to take it and fly that car door open. You can see that we have those strong winds continuing through most of the day Friday, but relaxing a little bit as we head into Saturday. This is whenever the cold air hits. We'll talk about temperatures here in just a few minutes, but I'll show you just how cold it's going to get this weekend. Let's talk about your drought conditions right now, because unfortunately we are seeing increasing drought conditions. Why does this matter? This is going to increase the fire risk. You have brittle grass out there, very, very dry grass. You know, whenever you step on it and you hear that crunch, all of that thanks to not a ton of rain and dry weather. This is your dew points right here. These are very, very low dew points. We're talking single-digit dew points here. This is the reason that you may feel like your lips are a little chapped today. Your hands, they need lotion, right? I suffer from chapped lips year-round, but especially during this time. And we're not going to see this dry air move out anytime soon. This is going to last all weekend long, so make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Taking a look at your future wind gust, once again, strong wind gust as we head into the end of the week and this weekend. Here's your fire weather outlook here, out in the western side of the state and the Texas Panhandle, and then in northeastern Colorado and northwestern Kansas. This fire weather increases for tomorrow, especially in the western side of Oklahoma, hence that red flag warning that we have in place. Now, I think a lot of people have questions about your wet weather. Snow, it's possible. You know, with that colder air coming in, we could also see some wet weather here. Let's take a look with that colder air. One more time here. With that colder air coming in, we could also see some snow. Let's take a look at that right now. Here's a look at your future radar. We absolutely will have snow for the Midwest, no question about that. But what about the Southeast? Because a lot of people are asking, what about Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma? Yeah, we could see a few flurries in Oklahoma on Saturday. But I want to remind you how dry it is here. Sure, temperatures are going to drop below freezing, but remember that dry air that I talked about? Will there be enough moisture to produce any significant amount of snow? I'm leaning right now towards no. A very low chance to see any sort of snow here in Oklahoma. What about out to the east? Models are disagreeing on this. Some models want to bring snow as far south as the central to southern portion of Alabama. Other models want to keep that farther up to the north, say that Tennessee state line. We'll have to see, but again, with the lack of moisture, and we're not quite sure how far south this cold air is going to reach, I once again am saying very, very low chance for snow as far south as our Gulf states. Before I move on, there you go. That's what you're going to see on social media later. People are going to be posting that saying, snow down to the southeast. Before I move on, let's take a look at our questions. Flax Trav once again on here. You guys are going to be windy up in Kansas. We've got Texas Aggie on here as well, watching from Texarkana. We appreciate you watching as well. And Paul Carson jumping on from YouTube. So we appreciate you guys hopping on today. Make sure that you tell us where you're watching from so that we can tailor this forecast to your area. You know, we cover a lot of states. We cover every state across the country. So we want to be able to tailor this forecast to where you're watching from. That's that snow that I was talking about down in Alabama and Georgia, South and North Carolina. I think it's very, very questionable. Don't take a look at this model and say, we are getting snow. Very, very low chance to get any sort of significant snow in this area. But I know that you need the rain, and you will most likely get some rain. Let's take a look at your 5-day rain chances here. Your rainfall totals look a lot more promising down in the Florida Panhandle and the northern side of Florida. Once again, I talked about that dry air, just lack of moisture right now. I think that's going to stunt our rainfall totals as well down in Alabama and in Georgia, and then all the way up the coast into the Carolinas and Virginias. Other than that, much better chances for higher rainfall and snowfall totals as you go farther up to the north, into the Midwest, and into our New England states. Now I want to look a little farther ahead here. We do have some rain coming into Texas, especially on the southern side and the southeastern side of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. We've got one person in Lubbock, Texas, watching today. We appreciate that. Now, Lubbock, Texas, you guys are going to stay dry. I know you need the rain. Unfortunately, you'll stay dry. If we actually go back to our future radar here, I'm going to kind of go off script here. I'm just kidding. We don't use a script. And I want to go back to your Texas rain. Watch as it avoids the areas that need it the most. You know, we've got some very dry conditions in these areas, and this rain is going to completely avoid that. As far north, the rain is going to go as far north as southeastern Oklahoma, but it's not going to reach places like Texas and Lubbock and Amarillo. Most likely not getting any rain in Oklahoma City either. Texarkana, yeah, you guys will probably get rain. But remember, this is Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, so we're looking pretty far out here. All right, let's go back to snowfall accumulations. Everyone has questions about how much snow are we getting down in the south. Here we go. Ooh, we got some decent snow in Bismarck, Minneapolis. Can we go lower? Can we go down to Tennessee? No, it does not look like we're going to get a ton of snow in these areas. Flurries at best, that's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be a very low chance to get any snow south of Tennessee. And there's your future radar. Any additional questions before we move on to temperatures? Because we do have a big cool down coming. We have Tulsa, Oklahoma in here. I love Tulsa. You guys will also stay dry over the next 5 days, but you may see a tiny bit of rain early next week. Very, very low chance on that. Excuse me, and a great question coming in from YouTube. When will we have a better idea of how much snow is expected in the south? Great question here. I would say better, when it's happening. I just don't think that we're going to see a ton of snow down here. Look, this is the NAM saying that we're going to see rain on Friday, but then if you turn to the GFS, it says that we could see some snow here. So I would say by Friday or Saturday, we would have a better chance. Models will have a better idea of how far south this cold air is going to go. We know that we have a little bit of moisture, but I just don't think that we have enough to see a ton of snow here. And did my graphics go out? We're good on graphics. Okay, and there's your second chance for wet weather on Sunday. So we're looking still about 4 days out here. Models get a lot better 24 to 48 hours out. Heather, have you looked at models? What do you think?
I haven't looked at it a whole lot, but we do have another viewer here, Cushing.
Oh, we've got someone from Cushing.
Yeah.
Heather's also a meteorologist. She's producing for us today, and I always like to put our producers on the spot. You know, what do you guys think about what we're showing up here? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about temperatures. Here we go. Temperatures are going to get a lot colder. On this roller coaster that we're on, we are on the downhill approach, downhill, what's the right word for that? You know, we've gone up with temperatures, now we're going back down. Let's move on. Okay, temperatures, 15 degrees in Minneapolis, 7 degrees in Minneapolis by early Saturday morning. Look at this cold plunge. You can see that we've got cold air coming up from Canada, cold dry air coming up from Canada, coming down from Canada and into the plains here. 1 degree below zero in Minneapolis, 21 degrees in Memphis. So there you go, right? There's your cold air. So does that mean snow? I still think it's pretty questionable. 33 in Minneapolis on Sunday. We're right on that freezing line. You can't get snow whenever it's 37 degrees out there. We're right on the freezing line here. I think that is going to be the big question, is how far south is this cold air going to reach? Because if we are sitting at that freezing line, most likely very little to no snow. All right, let's move on from that 4-letter snow word. Let's talk about temperatures. They're going to return back to about normal, if not a little bit colder than normal by Friday. Definitely colder for a lot of us by Saturday. That's going to move out on Sunday. You're going to warm up a little bit, but then cool back down on Monday. And you're just going to continue to see these temperatures go up and down as we head into the early portion of next week. Still, by the end of January, we're on a warming trend thanks to this high pressure system farther out to the west, cooling trend farther up to the north in places like the Midwest and the Northeast, which is something that we've seen all January long. Something that I really like to see here is that it does look like we're going to see more rain or snow as we head into the end of January, which means more fronts coming in, more moisture in this area as well. We need the rain in these areas. Unfortunately, I know we were talking about Lubbock, Texas earlier. You guys are still probably going to see about average, if not below average, rainfall totals as we head into the end of January. This is January as a whole. A little bit of rain farther up to the north. And there's your forecast today. I think we got all of our questions answered. Thanks for commenting where you're watching from. It always just gives us a good idea of who's watching so we know where to talk about. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And give us a call at 855-334-4245 if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map. During this downtime, whenever there's not storms out there, you can take our maps and go back and look 10 years ago. Where were the storms at? Last year, where were the storms at? Where did they hit? We've got hail, wind, and tornado maps at HailTrace.com. So head over there if you have any other questions. info@HailTrace.com is the way to go. Email us your questions about our subscription options. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here, same time, same place.